Here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Season 4.
Season 4, 5, I would say.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
How are you, mate? You look very relaxed, like you've had a good summer.
I don't know. Is that a compliment?
Yes, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Good. Yeah. Really good summer, man. Had a few breaks this summer. I think we recorded after my first holiday, but yeah, had a.
Do you feel rusty podcast wise?
Well, I wasn't, and then it's been a little while, but yeah, we'll get into the groove pretty soon. Do you feel rusty?
A little bit, mate. A little bit, yeah. Because we were I realised we were in a proper flow of it was every other week and smashing them out, just growing, just getting bigger, and then took a break, and it feels like we pulled the plug. But I'm back with some amazing questions to kick us off today.
I cannot wait for these questions.
So let's do, actually, before we get to the check-ins, the questions, let's do a proper check-in. I'm going to start with you, and I don't want you to say I'm all right. I don't want you to say I'm well refreshed after summer. Give me some juice, yeah?
Yeah.
With your check-in.
Yeah.
So how you feeling, mate?
I'm all right, yeah. Feel refreshed.
That was shit banter, by the way.
What?
Sorry, carry on.
It was brilliant, I thought.
Carry on.
I would say, what would I say? I would say I don't feel that refreshed, actually. Like, I feel like it's very busy at the moment. So
Okay.
There's a lot going on multiple fronts, lots of plate spinning, and it was a busy work summer as well as having some time out.
Yeah.
So I would say in the moments where I wanted to pause and refresh, I did. But overall, I'd say I'm feeling pretty busy right now.
Okay. Do you want my check-in? Is that where you're going?
I was just about to ask you.
Yeah. I actually, having all my work stops in August, apart from the project that I'm working on, yeah, which I worked hard on all August.
When can you talk about the project?
End of the year, mate.
Okay.
So the deadline is looming for that, but because I was in the office so much and like a lot of downtime, I'm in a space where I'm just buzzing to be at it again. And literally last week from Monday, I was just straight back in daily, here, there, and everywhere. I actually work better. The stuff that I need to get done, I'm better when I'm on the move and I'm like, I've got an hour window here. I've got to smash it out. And I was chatting about it to our good friend Ollie actually yesterday. And I was saying, people talk about that red zone and like, don't go into that red zone and all that sort of stuff. My green zone, as in my flow state, my like peak performance state, is just on the edge of that red zone. That's when I work best, man.
How do you know you're going into the red zone?
Because I start not enjoying what I'm doing.
Are you constantly teetering at the edge of the red zone?
No. Yes, but it doesn't feel like, oh my God, I'm about to implode. It feels brilliant. And I fucking love it. I'm in my flow state. I feel great. The red zone is when it starts to be like, fucking, I've got to do this again. I'm up early again. I've got to go and do a talk and I don't want to. That's when I know that I've teetered into the red zone. Otherwise, that plate spinning and stuff like that, I'm at my best in that sense.
I agree, man. I think when I don't have deadlines, I'm useless.
Yeah, same, man.
But when you've got stuff like when you're externally accountable for stuff, I'm way better.
Yeah.
Are you good at getting stuff done? Like when you've got a day and you go, I've got to get this stuff done, or do you procrastinate?
If it's the final day,
yeah,
then I'll kick in and I'll nail it and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
But if it's like, right, I've carved a day out here to get that project done that needs to be in 3 weeks, but I'm going to get it done now, so it ain't getting done, mate.
Yeah.
Like, there is no tool, trick, hack that works for me.
Yeah.
And people will send me shit after they've listened to this and say you should really try it. And I probably will try it, but it won't work.
Yeah. Do you buy your Christmas presents nice and early or last minute?
I don't buy presents, mate. I'm not involved in that within the household.
What about presents?
Actually, no.
For the person buying the presents.
We don't do that.
Oh, no presents.
Me and Leah don't buy
me
presents.
And Erin don't do presents either.
No. But I do save every week. I put a bit of money away. It comes straight out of my account every week, so that I've got a nice big fund at the end of the year.
That's
But
not the same thing, though, is it? That wasn't
no.
my
So
question.
the answer to answer the question, no, I don't, man. I don't buy them far out if I've got to buy anything.
Yeah.
No.
Because every year I say to myself, like lots of people, like, oh, I'm going to do it nice and early. And then I never do.
Nah. Leah does. Leah's already started. It's in her mind already. She's starting to buy shit. So she wouldn't be one of these people that fucking... I hate these people that take a picture of the Christmas aisle and go, it's September and the Christmas aisle's up. I'm like, yeah, but that might be annoying. But you know what's more annoying? The fact that you've walked down it and took a picture and then spent time making a fucking LinkedIn post about it. Fucking, if you don't like the Christmas stuff, don't walk down there, mate. No? Or have you done one of them posts?
no. Yeah, I'm one of those people. No. I'm fine to just understand that we're in a marketing machine and we're in the Christmas marketing zone.
Yeah, I think it's just inclusive for the people that want to start their Christmas shopping now, no?
Inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That word gets thrown out every fucking opportunity now by
Yeah.
good people. I know I'm a good person, has.
It's debatable.
Mate, I'm going to come on to these questions now because I feel like I've posed 3. I'm really interested in this first question.
Okay.
Your child is between the age of 5 and 10. The reason I've put 5 and 10...
Yeah, why is such a big range?
Because when they're a teenager, it's more like sort of up to them. They need to start... They can play a role in it. I'm saying that they're an age where they come home... Let me read it out and then I'll explain. Your child is between 5 and 10. They've come home with an invitation for a party... but they don't really like that person and they said they don't want to go. So what I mean is they've given you the invitation. It's your job to RSV, whatever that word is, yeah. And they've said, Dad, I don't really want to go. Don't really like that person. I'm happy to not go. What do you do?
So it's interesting. I was thinking about it because my instant reaction was, well, they're human beings and they've got their own, decision-making ability, and if they choose not to, then don't. But I also think in those early years, you've got to explore what it is you don't like, right? And that you've almost got to go through the zone of not feeling comfortable. So it could be that they don't like the kid. It could be they don't like social settings. It could be that they feel a bit left out. Like, it's a number of things that...
All right, but let's just assume they just don't really like the kid. Don't really like them. They're not fun. They're in my class. They annoy me a little bit. Think their personality is shit is the term that your 5-year-old uses.
I would let them stay home and veg out.
You would?
Yeah, what would you do?
No. So the reason I asked the question, is because I'm a people pleaser, yeah?
Yeah.
So my initial response is, you've got to go to the party. You can't just not go just because you don't like them. They've been nice enough to invite you. But Leah's straight away like, no, if you don't want to go, I'll just tell them you're not going. Like, she don't even bat an eyelid, yeah? I'll say you're not. And I think that's the correct way. Otherwise, you're breeding people pleasers, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would make their kid go. If I was a single parent and the decision was down to me, I'd like to think I would get round to the right decision in the end. But my initial reaction was to go, no, you need to go to the party, man. They've invited you. Like, what? And I start thinking,
really?
What if they know that you fucking said no because you didn't want to cut? You got to go and sit in a lesson with them on Monday.
Yeah, I'm really comfortable saying no to stuff that I don't like.
Yeah, what? Even in your adult life now, even like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. You're a bit. Yeah,
I'll just say no, thanks.
Yeah.
But also, I just think it's not right to force like a miserable moment on your child, something like that. I give them plenty of miserable moments.
Yeah, I can imagine
my
when you
own
kick them
doing.
out so that you can watch TV on your own, like you do.
I do. Yeah, I haven't done that for a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
You really struggle with that, don't you?
What, kicking the kids out of the living room?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What was it again? What was I watching?
That police thing.
Oh, Line of Duty.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
They reckon that's coming back, by the way. Side point. Anyway.
Yes, man.
So, okay, we're agreed on that then. My people-pleasing tendencies is the wrong way to go on that.
Yeah. Don't force someone to hang out with a fucking tool.
Yeah. There is something on that, though, right? Because what I learned from that is that I do notice how annoyed I get with people who don't people please when I want to just people please.
Say that again.
So if I'm like in the company of somebody and somebody asks me to do something and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to say yes because I don't want to say no because I'm a fucking chronic people pleaser.
Yeah.
if the person next to me just goes, no, we're not going to do that,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, why are you so fucking rude?
Yeah.
That's where I go in my head. Rather than reflecting
Yeah.
and seeing my truth that I'm a
Yeah.
people pleaser and they're right, they're
Yeah.
doing that right, I immediately go to
I know what you
making
mean.
them
Yeah.
the bad one here.
I think about my best mate Jermaine, who's like what I've always loved about him. He's so independent. He will always just dance to his own tune. Like he doesn't like, like he doesn't people please for the sake of it, right? But sometimes it just makes me feel a bit awkward. Like we went to have breakfast. This was a few years ago, and he was like we were looking what's there, and there was smoked salmon, and so he was like, can you fry the smoked salmon? And I'm like, it's cooked, man. It's like it's already cooked. Like if you're gonna order it, that's it. Like you can't ask them to fry it. You don't fry smoked salmon. And then I was just thinking about like how awkward I was gonna feel at my local calf if he was gonna ask them
Did he
to
ask
fry.
him?
No, I made him feel that awkward that he changed his meal.
So you won't do it to your kids, but you'll do it to your mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've established that. I actually remember it happened once when I, very early on, knew you. We went out for breakfast somewhere. It was me, you, and Mark.
Right.
And you ordered poached eggs, and when you cut into them, they weren't runny.
Oh, Jesus.
And you called the waiter over.
Did I?
And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna fucking tell him. And you was like, excuse me, like, you fucking mug, you went, you disgusting peasant, go and get the manager. No, you didn't. You just, but you said, look, can you sort it out?
What would you do? What would you have eaten?
No, genuinely, this is genuine. I'm not blowing smoke. At the time, because like this is like 5 years ago, we really had first met. I was like, wow, hope I can be that powerful one day.
But now you send it back, right?
Yeah, I would now. Yeah.
those
Because I've
days-
grown and evolved as a
In
person.
those days, you
yeah.
would have eaten
and I've
the
got a bit more power
boiled
in
egg.
my life.
You'd have eaten the boiled egg.
Yeah, 100%. 100% I would have. Yeah.
Do you like a boiled egg, Josh?
Do I like a?
Boiled egg?
Yeah, mate. I eat.
I
I
on the
eat
scale?
2 boiled eggs most days.
Hard or soft boiled? In the middle?
No, I want it soft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want it soft. But I often get them in a meal deal.
A meal
So they're
deal?
just as they come. Sushi, 2 eggs, and a drink. That's my Tesco's meal deal.
Ugh.
What?
Oh, like you buy hard boiled?
You get them in a little pot. 2 hard-boiled eggs in a pot.
No, mate.
Why?
I have a weird thing about like prepackaged eggs. If I'm gonna boil it, I want them freshly boiled.
Yeah.
I don't want chilled fucking boiled eggs that have been sitting in a packet.
Fucking this shit's gone to your head, mate.
No, I'm just saying. Anyway,
next question.
by the way, I think a lot of people might agree with me on that.
What, that they wouldn't have them out of a packet?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
Right. Most influential person in your life, and you're not allowed to pick a famous person.
You were just trying to fish for compliments, right?
Oh, what, you're going to... No, I'm famous. You're not allowed to pick a famous person.
Famous in your head. Most influential person in my life. Ooh, it's a tricky
I see
one.
you've done your homework.
No, I thought about someone, and I'm going to change it.
Ooh. Do we get to know who that was that you've binned off last minute?
Nah, I don't think it's fair.
Ah.
Can I take 2? Can I put 2?
Yeah, all right. You've
So-
got to order them.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Um,
In no
so
particular order.
I'm going to say outside of family.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want family. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want something naff like your your kids.
I'd say John and Guy. John and Guy.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I think so John and Guy are my 2 business partners, and the way that we sort of support each other, and the way they support me and kind of champion me and live with my idiosyncrasies, and any idea that I come up with, they're kind of always behind me and back me. They're always there, stoic, strong, and like I genuinely think about like what makes working, pleasurable and not working for a company. And those 2 guys are just like, spot on. But also you know, the way that John's kind of built the brand and what he's doing and his kind of artistic craft is like really inspirational to me. It sort of spurs me to want to do better. And with Guy, he's just so focused on us, like being a responsible business. And I'm a bit slapdash.
Yeah.
And he's always like, you know, keeping us on the straight and narrow. So we're such a unit. And I'd say those two guys.
Oh, okay, I love that, mate. Yeah, I like that.
How about you?
So mine is my drama teacher. Do you know what? Right, I'd love to one day go back and meet him. Right, I'm gonna name drop him. It's Mr. Sanderson. When I was at school, and I was like a problem to every teacher at school. And don't get me wrong, I went out of my way to be in many cases, but I thought about him. Like, he told me he like really wanted me to go to do drama. He like called a meeting with my parents and sort of said, Josh really should follow this. Like, really believed in me, installed that belief in myself. I mean, it wasn't enough in the end, ultimately, for me to follow it, but really pushed it on me and made me feel like a human being. And there wasn't many adults in my life when I was a kid that did that.
That saw you.
Yeah, that saw me, yeah. He always asked me how football went the weekend. He always knew how I'd got on the previous weekend. He would tell me off when I needed telling off, right? Yeah. He would, you know, if I needed to be in trouble, I would be in trouble, but then he would go back to treating me like a human being. And I talk about it regularly that, you know, in my darkest days, you could argue that he sort of saved my life in times, because he installed enough of a belief in me that I was and could be a good human, so that in the days when I genuinely believed that I was an awful person, what he had installed in me kept me going. And you know what's interesting, just quickly, he'll at the moment, as it stands, he's got no proper idea of the impact that he had on my life.
No. Why don't you tell him?
Because I keep thinking I need to go and find out who he is. So maybe I'll make a bit of content with this and start putting it out there. Because there'll be people
still around.
I don't know, man. I've never like looked down that. He's definitely not at the school anymore.
Yeah.
I know that much. I think I remember once somebody telling me that he'd moved to Germany.
Oh.
But I'd go to Germany.
You should just put a bit of content out and then just see if the power of community
social media,
can,
yeah. I might actually do it, yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah, and if he's in Germany, I'll go in June next year when it's the Euros in Germany.
Is it?
Yeah, he might let me stay there.
I didn't even know that, actually.
Yeah.
He might let you stay. I thought you wouldn't stay at anyone's house.
I'd stay at Mr. Sanderson's, mate.
People like Mr. Sanderson's, they're a rarity now, right? And the school system doesn't really allow for that kind of care.
I think the second bit of what you're saying is true, man.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of Mr. Sandersons. I don't think the system allows them to be Mr. Sanderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot in that. And I talk about it a lot when I go into schools, you know, and you meet teachers who are Mr. Sanderson, but don't get the opportunity to be because they're, you know, they're tied. Their hands are tied behind their backs with sort of like making sure that they get the lessons right. Do you know what I mean? Maths, make sure everybody's learning maths properly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole conversation. We ought to do a podcast on it one time, really, on the school system and the impact it has.
We should.
And you know, the world that we live in now. And I always say most kids that have just started senior school this term will leave to a job that don't even exist yet.
Totally. And the thing is, I have really conflicting views about school because as a responsible parent, I have to obviously do the thing, right? But school didn't really give me anything. The only thing I got from secondary school, I probably had a better life in primary school, but in secondary school was just learning to be confident around different kinds of people outside of my social class.
Yeah.
And that then helped me go in and be confident to say, these poached eggs are boiled. Can you? But you know, I think the world now needs more than the school system teaches you. Right?
Yeah, man. Well, I think it needs something completely different, doesn't it? Because everything it teaches you can just Google now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I was talking to a friend of mine. He is gonna send he lives in Oregon, and he's gonna send his kid to an outdoor school.
Yeah, I've met a few outdoor school teachers and that, mate.
Yeah, and like it's like it really teaches them resilience, because even when it's like freezing cold, they're going to be out there layered up and just doing stuff, and they sort of, they look at like, they're taught to be curious. They'll be like, oh, okay, what's this? It's a puddle. Okay, what can you see? And you really learn about life by doing it.
I think so many people would go for that if they didn't feel that they were hooked into a system because there's no other system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is the reality
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I do think, I think change on that front will slowly start to come, because I think the generation now will feel even, the ones that are kids at school now, they'll feel even more strong about it in 15
I mean,
years'
it just
time.
takes courage to start changing things. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
system will just it will just be SATs, and then there'll be a new version of that, and there'll be a new version. But it takes courage to say, okay, we're going to try and do something completely different. What fuels courage is money,
Yeah.
and if there's no money, then you can't be courageous, because there's just no way to
Yeah.
break up. So you got to do it with pilots. I think the problem is people try and do mass scale change, and you got to start with pilots.
Yeah. Did you see Gary Neville talking about how he thinks GCSEs should be gone?
No.
And you shouldn't, he said, he's right, your whole life at school should not come down each lesson to one fucking test.
Yeah.
And how well you perform in that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that, I don't know how it is when you leave school, but I've never been asked for my GCSEs anyway.
No, of course not. But it matters in terms of recency, right? So GCSEs matter and to get to A levels. A levels matter to get you to university, and then.
So you mean they just matter to keep you in the system?
In the system, exactly. And the thing is, it's just a filtering system. It is a way to stop everyone going into adult education. It's a way to kind of, and what it's different now because people are made to pay fees. But in the old days, like 20, 25, 30 years ago, it was all grants, right? So that it was a way to kind of filter people out. And that's why middle classes and upper middle classes were the ones that were going to university, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have as many. And then now it's more balanced, but then people are like saddling themselves with like.
But people are going to start struggling with that, aren't they?
debt.
The whole uni thing's going to start. People are going to start thinking, do I want to get 25 grand debt now?
Not start, they already are.
I know, yeah, but I mean,
And-
if that's
and-
going to grow, that's only going to grow, isn't it?
I mean, I would say, compared to all the friends a lot of the friends I went to school with, who went and did degrees and all that sort of stuff, I've been more successful than they have.
Yeah.
Not all. I mean, there's obviously
Alright, mate.
one.
All right, mate.
I know, I'm just saying.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I didn't go to school with anyone that went to university.
Did no one get to uni from your school?
Not the lads I was knocking about with, mate.
Uh,
Jail, maybe.
who's the school of life? Who's been the most, outside of you, who's been the most successful one out of your school?
What
Do
the
you have any
out
famous
of the
alumni?
out of the school, out of the whole school?
Yeah, any famous alumni?
No, man. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what.
Do you know who went to my school?
Who?
MJ Cole. Do you remember MJ Cole? The
What, the-
garage.
The garage guy.
Yeah,
Did he?
yeah.
Well, you've just said you were the most successful, so.
Other than MJ
Apart from
Cole.
MJ Cole.
Yeah.
No, I don't. The lads I was knocking about with, again, mate, I couldn't really tell you what most of them are doing, if I'm honest with you. Last question. You're not allowed to answer no to this neither. You have to say yes and then give me one. Is there an animal that you think is sexy?
I can't answer this. Right?
Yes, you can, man. There must be an animal that you look at and you think, oh yeah, I'd go out with that. I'd take that out for some soft boiled eggs.
So I had to think about this because I knew you weren't going to let me say
Yeah,
no.
right. It came straight to you, but go on.
I have a picture of her in my wallet. I'd say a cheetah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
When I was a kid, we used to watch Thundercats.
Right.
And there was a sexy character called Cheetara. And she was like a very feminine cheetah type. Did you ever watch Thundercats?
I don't remember the feminine cheetah in there.
Cheetara.
Cheetah.
Yeah. That's the only thing I could think of. It's a very hard question to
That
talk
didn't
about.
take you long to get there. I don't care. Cheetara came straight in your head.
Well, when you asked me the question,
You were like,
Top
fuck, has
one.
he seen my search
I thought-
history?
I thought about maybe a dolphin, but then that just feels a bit weird. What about you? Come on, man. Come on. A dolphin.
Dolphin's not a bad shout.
Yeah, you know,
really,
just
is it?
sort of smooth contours.
Mine is actually mine's similar to yours. Mine's a leopard.
Oh, maybe I meant a leopard. No, a cheetah. Yeah.
Lovely shoulder blades. A leopard's got. Do you know what I mean? But they always look nice and firm and muscular.
And just very athletic.
Yeah. Would you sleep with a cheetah?
I draw the line, man. I draw the line. Would you? Would you sleep with a jaguar?
I said leopard.
I know. I changed it.
Okay. Not with a jaguar, no.
But with a leopard,
Might do, yeah.
what would you do? Would you spoon? What would be your sleeping like arrangement?
Well, I wouldn't switch sides of the bed with them after 6 months or whatever you've just done at home.
Look, you got to put the context in. I was just saying.
Right, moving on. Let's go. So, before we start the main topic of conversation today, we are very aware of the main topic in the media at the moment with what's gone on with Russell Brand. We discussed about whether today's episode should be about that. I've got a couple of things that I want to say. Do you want me to just say it, or shall I say it and then see if you want to add anything?
I don't know what you're going to say, so you might as well say it.
This is like a statement that we're making.
All right.
So what we did discuss is there's a couple of things that I know to be true, or that I believe to be true. The first one is that victims of sexual abuse, anybody that comes forward as a victim of sexual abuse, should always be believed. I don't care how long after it happens, should they be believed. I don't care even if it was brought out of them by you know, a TV channel that wanted to make a documentary. If it's their truth and it's been brought out, they should be believed. And I also believe that people are innocent until proven guilty. I am fully aware that accusations can be made for a whole million and complex different reasons, and that is exactly why this whole thing should not even be in the media and should be in the court system. And that is why I think that summarizes for me why we've decided not to talk about it, because we could bring opinions based on a documentary, but we don't know anywhere near the facts. We don't know any of that. And so I think for us to try and discuss it and pull it apart would be wrong for everybody involved in it.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah. I mean, I think we were saying how we just fundamentally don't think it's right to be trialed by media and trialed by the court of public opinion. Yet in talking about it, we realised that we would have just been doing the same.
And it's when we say it's not fair, we're saying it's not fair on every single person that this impacts
not
and
just
that's involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just Russell Brand, but the people that have come forward, their families, people that have been affected by this that are nothing to do with it. It's not fair on anybody.
Yeah.
This should and the one thing I will say is the people that have brought these victims forward, if they really, really cared about them, they could have funded them to get the best lawyers and solicitors and allowed this to go through court behind closed doors and then done their documentary.
Yeah, but look, I think the other thing is, and this is probably going to lead us nicely onto the main topic, but there's also something to explore for us, maybe not around, you know, Russell Brand and what's going on specifically, but how you're sort of forced very quickly to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And it's either one or the other. You're either a believer or you're not. You either support or you don't, you know. And I think there's something interesting about how quickly you have to kind of have an opinion on stuff.
And nail your fucking flag to the mast, and you've got to pick one. And if you have any kind of inkling of a thought for the opposing side to the one that you've picked, then you should have picked the other side and you're shot down in flames.
Yeah, but also the way that social media works is the minute you start to, like, so the way the algorithm works is the minute you start to linger a little bit on the content that seems to veer towards your point of view, that's what you're fed.
Yeah.
And so you just you're constantly your narrative and your opinion is constantly reinforced by other people saying the same thing.
Man. Yeah.
So it's a really, it's an interesting, time.
And I think maybe down the line we'll talk about that in more depth, but we
Yeah.
wanted to purposely steer clear of it today.
Yeah.
But what we are going to talk about in the sort of 20 minutes or so that we have got is, I know it's a little bit of an old story, but it sort of, I think, raises a really good conversation, and one that I think is nuanced that I want to try and get into. Jordan Henderson has left to go and play football in Saudi Arabia, to be paid by Saudi Arabia over there a hell of a lot of money. He's left Liverpool Football Club and gone over there, and there has been quite a big bit of uproar for him going over there. How do you feel?
How do I feel?
How do you feel broadly about Henderson? I know that's a big question, but summarise your feelings on Henderson from a non-football context, right? Just on Henderson, the man, the person, the human being, going to Saudi Arabia. How do you feel about it?
How do I feel? So also everyone, regular listeners should know that I'm a Liverpool fan as well. So there's a little bit of extra context. I was always a fan of Jordan Henderson, as you know, and I think like some of the stuff that he seemed to stand up for over the last few years, I thought he really exemplified sort of leadership on many fronts. I was disappointed when I heard he was leaving, because I knew it would kind of leave a hole in our club. But also, it felt like, to me, picking up the media, it was all just about money, right? And then because he's been reportedly offered 700,000 a week, which is an obscene amount of money, right, for somebody whose football skills are waning. But ultimately, I also would say that everyone has their own right to make the decisions that they feel they need to make.
Yeah.
Right. So we can all have an opinion. Particularly, we feel that we can have an opinion on people who are in the public eye. But if he felt that he wanted to take that job and it was offered and he wants to do it,
that's a very I don't want a diplomatic answer.
Oh, what do you want?
I want a fucking what do you think? We are all judged by our decisions and the things that we do in our life ultimately. Yeah? Everybody that you judge the people in your life. We can say that we're judgment free, but you're not friends with everyone. What do you think it says about him as a human being? To be clear of the context, right? Before we actually break it down a little bit further, he came out as quite a big ally to the LGBTQ plus community, right? He came out as quite a big ally to that, stood up for them and made a bit of a stand in a number of different ways for them as a community.
How did he do that? Do you remember?
He came out and said a lot. I should have Googled what he actually said, but he actually came out and publicly declared a few things, particularly when
he used to wear the laces and the armbands
and he said a few things about Dubai when the World Cup was going to be over there. He said a few things about humanitarian issues,
right,
and all that over there.
Yeah, and I think there was a Liverpool fan who tweeted that coming out was very difficult for him, but Liverpool was always something that gave him joy and connection, and he retweeted and commented on that. So, I'm not sitting on the fence. Like I was asked. No. I was answering the question. You asked me how I feel, and I'm like, if you want to do that, that's up to you. That if you want to go and
everyone. So if you want to murder someone, it's up to you. My point is, what does it make you think about him? What do you think what's the measure of the man as a result?
I think his values seemed to be only appropriate for him when it made sense, right?
Yeah.
And when it came to a hierarchy of value, right, money came out on top.
Is that the only reason, right? So to speak from Jordan Henderson's corner now a bit more, does he have any defense in that? Could he say, well, look, I'm only going over there, I'm just going over there to take, I mean, he didn't say this. He come out and said it weren't just about the money. I wanted to make an impact and grow the sport or whatever. But could he not, is there a defense? And I'm asking, I haven't given yet to give an opinion on it. I will in a sec. But could he have a point in saying, well, look, I still stand for all of those things. I'm just, all money's dirty in the end, isn't it?
He could. Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
He could. I think that if I'm being objective, right, you could say that it was true at the time of doing it, right? And you could also say that his opinions haven't changed, but the opportunity was too great that he had to go and do it.
Yeah.
Right. So he is probably genuinely, I believe this, he's probably no less supportive of the rights of LGBTQ plus people. But what he's being measured against is, well, you're not really a true ally if at the first sign of challenge on being an ally, you actually go, oh, okay, I'm just going to go and do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's valid that people are questioning him. And the problem is it's an obscene amount of money, and that's what's completely
and also
skewed it, right?
Also, right, for me, and look, even as we're talking, my opinion is actually changing a little bit.
Okay.
My original thought is, look, once you've said all them things that you've said, you didn't know this big money offer was going to come when you said them all. But once you've said them all, you can't really take the big money offer, right?
Right.
Because it devalues what you've said, right? You have to stand in your power, and you have to go, you know what? This isn't, by the way, this isn't a poor man who was offered life-changing money. Yeah, it will be life-changing money, but I mean, he would have been on over £100,000 a week.
Yeah.
At Liverpool. Yeah. So like it's he's not gone from poor to rich. For me, I feel like he should have thought, he should have said, I've said all this stuff, I can't go. Right? If he's a man of his word and he wants to be somebody that stands by what he says.
I think it's a relatively short-termist view he took. Right? I think say someone like look at Gary Lineker, right? Like Gary Lineker has sort of transcended the sport.
Yeah.
Right? Like he stands for stuff, he's vocal, he champions things, he's a media personality, and even Gary Neville, right? Like, and I think like after this, and it is an obscene amount of money, but what's money? At the end of it, it's a black hole, right? Like it's a black hole of joy, isn't it? Right? How many houses can you have, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are talking about generational wealth. Like he would have been wealthy, but this potentially creates generational wealth to pass down, right? But like, there's no validation. There's no like continual joy out of money.
Yeah.
And like, and he's done now. He's done. Like he could have been a real champion of causes and like somebody that people look up to. And I think that's done. I think that's over.
So the conversation that I want, the way that I wanted to steer the conversation a little bit is around allyship.
Yeah.
Right. Allyship has become huge in the last few years, particularly like in the corporate space. I do think sometimes it can get bandied about by people that don't really know what it means, but much like anything, and this isn't a slant on the term itself, but it's much like any term that gets created, it then sort of gets picked up and used and abused. And I think you get a lot of idiots that throw these words around just to make them seem like they're coming from the space of the people that would use that term. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But where does allyship stop? Now, what I mean by that is I did a bit of digging and a bit of research, and we supply arms to Saudi Arabia. Our government do.
Yeah.
So, and this is probably true. Does that mean any Tory voter, Labour it was probably happening when Labour were in it, right? So we're all sort of part of that. But if I can give you another level, and for context, I'll build context on it. Would it have been the same if he had gone to Newcastle? And for people that are listening that don't know about football, Newcastle are a Saudi-owned football club. So is that just as bad if he had gone there? Or is it not quite as bad? Or where do you draw the line here?
It's an interesting...
If he hadn't have gone there, but he'd stayed mates with Steven Gerrard, who's gone over there, and Gerrard had invited him over for his birthday and said, come over to Saudi and be at my birthday for a bit.
Yeah. Like just visiting the country.
Just visiting the country and enjoying what the country gives him when he's there. Can you go to the country for a holiday and be an ally?
Probably not, to be a true ally.
Right.
Right. So the thing about allyship is that it's often, and this is the challenge, it's often seen as very performative.
Yeah.
So it now feels like his allyship was totally performative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so many people do performative allyship because, hey, it gets likes on social media and you're doing what your company should be doing.
A lot of it on LinkedIn.
A lot of it on LinkedIn, exactly. So, and the point of, say, people that are oppressed is that they cannot be free in many of these countries, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at there's something called an equality index where all countries are measured against certain criteria, and Saudi Arabia came out of an index score of about 12, right? And the highest one's like Iceland on 89 or something.
What are we on, UK?
I didn't check
13?
actually. I double check.
Yeah.
But Russia was 15.
Right.
And then there's some crazy countries that below that. But there's quite a swathe. And Egypt is, I think, so Egypt's like 15 or something like that, or 14.
Right.
I think some Middle Eastern countries definitely get, they're easy to point to, but like Russia, a lot of people go to Russia, a lot of people do business in Russia. So just to pick out one individual, I think it stops you from having the wider conversation around how much the countries that we live in benefit, and actually we should be pointing to the government and looking at what they're doing versus like just zoning in on an individual who's basically going, okay, like in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter what Jordan Henderson does or doesn't do. It's about like what's the bigger narrative around rights and opportunities. But sorry, I've sort of veered off. To be a true ally, that really does mean that at the point of conflict, at the point of friction, where you are going to be uncomfortable, you have to keep going. And you're going to feel really uncomfortable. So when you have to call somebody out and there could be an impact on your business, on your social standing, you're like, I'm okay with that, because that's what true allyship is. And if you ask anybody that's kind of suffered from oppression, the thing that gets really exhausting is like people can say all this stuff, yeah, we're here, we're with you, we're one. But the minute that it requires consistent and sustained effort, people fuck off.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look at like Black Lives Matter, that we were very, very active, right, in the conversation. We saw lots of people going, right, this is it, this is changing. It's just gone, right? And that's what you see so much performative allyship. And so I think Jordan Henderson was doing performative allyship, because if he was a true ally, he would have said, I can't go and work there. My values around this are too strong. I can't go and work there.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question you said about whether, if he'd have gone to Man City or if he'd have gone to Newcastle.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have had the same reaction, but it's exactly the same thing.
Well, it is exactly the same thing, yeah. The reason he's been...
why it is and may be different is because in those countries, the maximum penalty for being gay could be death. and
Yeah.
they often use torture and things like that. Whereas that wouldn't happen if he'd gone to, say, Man City or to Newcastle. But the owners are the same.
Yeah, yeah, it's still led by the same, and it's almost like it's a step down, isn't it? In the tier of
Yeah.
that
Palatability, yeah.
of palatability.
Yeah.
Let me ask you straight: would you, if a company came to you and said from Saudi and said, "Will you come in and do some work for us?" Would you go?
I wouldn't know.
If they offered you 10 million for
No.
a month's work?
No, because I, for me, I don't. It just does not. It's just so jarring to my code. Like you know, and I was raised in a Muslim household, so in many ways, like it could be quite easy for me to go in and assimilate.
What about Dubai?
No, I have no interest.
You wouldn't work in Dubai?
No.
5 million for a week's work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like 5 million for a week's work. Of course,
In
I
Dubai,
would.
you would.
Of course, I would.
Saudi?
5 million for a week's work.
Yeah.
I realise I'm on the air here, right? And
But this,
no.
This is
Listen,
what we're about, yeah.
listen. Like, it would be hard to turn down 5 million for a week's work.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I'm not justifying it, but I don't have Jordan Henderson's existing wealth.
Yeah, it
I
would be a
don't-
different
five-
question.
5 million is.
Because
Now, if you
actually,
said to me,
a better question would be 20 grand, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't do it.
Because that would be more relative.
Yeah.
Because that would be similar relativity to
Yeah.
what he's been
I
offered.
wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it.
Now, so
But there is
people,
a price.
people
But
will
there is
listen.
a price.
There is a price. People will listen and go, well, you don't, your values don't hold true, but it is an obscene amount of money to consider 5 million, and I've got to think, well, would I do a week's work? What would you do?
Yeah, no, 100%. 5 million, yeah. Like, I don't have to think about it. And this is where I defend Henderson a little bit. And actually, I guess I'm pretty hypocritical in what I'm saying, because if I'm being dead truthful, I'm thinking you shouldn't have said that shit that you said publicly, mate, and you'd have been all right, like everyone else that's gone over there. They got a little bit of stick, but not much, because they haven't come out and did the performative piece.
Yeah.
So I think he's a dick for doing the performative piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he really? But do you think he felt it at the time?
What do I think it felt? No, I think it was probably true to him at the time. But this is what I think, yeah. If you're getting 5 million to go and do work over there, like, in my head, I'd think, yeah, but I still don't buy into their values or shit. Like I don't buy into their values. They're giving me 5 million to go and do, in my case, what would be some resilience work.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, that doesn't mean I'm buying. Like, I'll do everything I can.
Yeah.
For them, any community.
Yeah.
My worry with the allyship thing, or my thing with the allyship thing is, right, when you think of every single marginalized community that exists, I just don't believe it's even possible to be an amazing ally for all of them all of the time.
But you don't necessarily have to be an ally for all of them all of the time.
What, just the ones you pick
Well, if
in
you
the
pick
moment?
it, yeah, no. But no, if you pick something and you're like really strongly like, I am an ally of these people or this cause, that's it.
Yeah, but I could, if I reeled off a load of causes to you now, you wouldn't say I'm not an ally to them, would you? That's the point I'm making. If I went, I don't know, people with disability, you're not going to go, nah, not massively keen on allying them, right?
Yeah.
You'd say, no, I'd like to be an ally.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the word, because just because you are mildly supportive of them having a better life isn't the same as being an ally. An ally is proactive. It is doing stuff. It isn't just sitting on the fence.
Am I an ally of people with brown skin?
Well, how do you want to question that? Like,
I don't know. Do you think I'm an ally? Like,
I think you're my mate. It's not the same thing as being an ally.
And I care about you, and I wouldn't want you or anybody like you to
Not really
feel
an
that
ally.
when you talked about. So I'm not an ally to him. That's a genuine question.
Not just
But this
based
is
on
where
that.
I think sometimes the terminology just gets a bit like, I'd back you if I worked at the same company for you and I felt like you'd been mistreated because you were brown. I'd fucking back you to the cows.
That's an ally. That's allyship. That is kind of
But
what's
then
considered.
say you were gay,
Yeah,
I'd still, and I'd do it because you're gay, right? I fucking wouldn't want no one to treat you badly because of that.
That's-
I'd back you to the hill. I'd stand firm.
that's
I'd
allyship.
risk my job.
Yeah.
But if Saudi offered
It's
me
the
5
action.
million for a week, I'd go over there, mate.
Yeah.
And I'd say to you, I'll fucking give you a million when I get back if you want. But it doesn't mean I feel any different about it. That's where I think,
I agree. Yeah.
And that's where I think it's like, this is.
It's multi-layered.
Yeah, and it's new, and there's nuance in it, and this is what I think happens when you look on. I'm aware of time. We're going to wrap up. This is where I think what happens on social media, not just LinkedIn, but particularly LinkedIn with words like this, is they get polarized, and people just throw them. They get weaponized. That's what happens, and then people just throw this word about all of the time, and it's like, well, hang on a minute. Has this really got anything like the Jordan Henderson thing really in the end, has it really, and I started off by saying I think he's a dick and he shouldn't have gone. Has it really got anything to do with it?
No.
Has it really? Like, does it really mean he's not an ally? Does it really mean he don't
Well,
you know, in
the
the
other
way that
thing
I
is-
just talked about with you?
Yeah.
Does it, if he went and worked, you know, somewhere and he felt like somebody was being mistreated because they were gay, would he back down? Like, I don't think it changes that.
I don't think so either. And what will be interesting though is that the environment will dictate. So where he was vocal and spoke about it, he won't do that now.
That'll be interesting. Well, will he risk it?
And
all
the other
speak
thing
up
is-
about
the other
it?
thing that's
will he
really
wear his rainbow laces?
Probably not, no. The other thing that's really interesting is everyone jumped to condemnation, straight to condemnation. And this is kind of speaking to what we were saying before. You jump to like, right, he's a wanker or he's not a wanker, right?
Yeah.
Or I can understand what he's doing or I don't, right?
Yeah.
But actually, curiosity, I think, is it's getting kind of, you know, we're just not curious anymore. So why don't we say, well, listen, Jordan Henderson, you're taking this job, you've been this. How are you going to continue to champion
I think you're
this?
right. And look, we're going to finish here because of time, but I do think that it comes back to what we started saying about the Russell Brand thing, right? Which is actually, let's have a proper conversation about stuff. He did get the opportunity. He did do a video, and when he came out and done the video that he did was shit.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
He came out and he said, I'm not going for the money. It's not actually 700 grand. It's a lot less than
Oh,
that.
the interview.
Like that as
Oh, yeah,
relevance.
yeah,
He
yeah,
didn't
no.
go and say, I fucking stand firm in
but
this.
that was still like interviewing him on why did he make the decision.
Yeah, but that was his opportunity, innit? And he fucking didn't do it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I would like a more proactive conversation.
I wouldn't, because I think he's
That's
a dick. I would never like to sit down with Jordan Henderson.
You take his money though.
He's shit as well. This has been a perfect conversation around the Jordan Henderson thing, I think. And this is what we're all about. And there's way more to come in the coming weeks.